Hey nerds, it's been like 9 months since I've posted on here. I'm very sorry about that. But hey, I'm excited and I want to show you some really cool stuff that I got. Really. So, I bought hundreds of dollars worth of board games. Might be a bit obsessed. I'm also missing one of them. One of them hasn't arrived yet, but these are the 3 that are really cool. And I'll do another video, I think, when I get that last one. So, I thought, why not do an unboxing video with you about these awesome games? And I can tell you about how, like, why I love them. I mean, to be fair, I haven't played 2 of them yet, but this one has. This is an expansion for my favorite game at the moment, my favorite board game. If you like board games, I want to tell you about it. So, which one should we open first? We've got Pandemic in the Lab, which is an expansion for Pandemic. We've got Spirit Island, which is a game where like you play as these magical spirits trying to stop colonists taking over your island. And then we've got Scythe. And this one is this one's pretty famous at the moment. It's like the eighth most popular board game in the world on Board Game Geek at the moment. So we're going to start off with, I think, the expansion. So, no, hang on, we're going to start off with Scythe. Let's go with Scythe. Yep. So Scythe is this game which is based in like a World War I type era, and you've got mechs. And it's sort of a war strategy game, but it's really more an economy game where you're trying to create the biggest economy, most powerful economy, and you sort of use the military, these mechs, as a last resort. Like, it's got some amazing art. It's based in like Eastern Europe, and you just look at that incredible art. Isn't that just beautiful? That's really amazing. And oh jeez, it's got like a 2-hour playtime. This is my first time ever opening it. Lots and lots of stuff. Like, this is a massive, hefty board game. I'm not even gonna have a look at that for the moment because I think everyone just wants to see the mechs, which is totally fair. Who doesn't want to see the mechs? Although, to be perfectly honest, there's actually less stuff than I thought there would be. But here we go. So this is all of the mechs at once, but we'll take a closer look. There are 5 teams of mechs. 5 teams based in Eastern Europe. Oh, hang on. There's scissors. I need scissors. No, I don't. And these are like your factions. So, I don't really know the names of them. I mean, I literally haven't played Scythe before, so, you know, don't hate on me too much. Unless it, like, tells you very, very quickly. Faction. Ah, here we go. So, we've got, this is the Crimea faction. Oh, hang on. Let's focus that in on there. There we go. That's better than... There we go. So that's the Crimea faction. Then we have the... So this guy's on top of a yak. That's quite hefty. Really nice detail. And we'll just focus in on there. This is the Nordic faction, so think Scandinavia type stuff. And he's riding on a yak by the looks of it. And that's really cool. Big bearded dude. Then we have Saxony, who has a giant wolf. And let's just focus in on that. So that's Saxony. Big wolf dude. These guys are yellow. No, black. These guys are black. Then we have Polania. I'm figuring Poland. Hence the bear. Although bear would be interestingly, the bear is actually Polanian, not Rusovet, which is Russian, basically. But this is the bear. Oh, yep, it's focused. Oh, no. Get it back in focus. And that's the model. Pretty damn cool. And then the last guy, they have a cat? It looks like a lion. Sorry, looks not really sure exactly what type of creature it is, but this is the Rusovet faction. And that's like their main figure that you can put around the board. But the mechs, that's what you want to see. So, actually, I wonder if it'd be easier. So they've actually all got different mechs, but they all have the same mechs. Like, I mean, they all have their own different mech, but they're all the same mech. Unless there are other mechs in here that I'm missing. Nope, don't think so. So this is the black mech. So this is the Saxony mech. And it's really kind of hard to see, but they are four-legged, kind of big, giant, pretty much like a tank on legs, by the looks of it. Hang on, there we go. Come on, it's because it's black. It doesn't blend with my shirt that well, so if there we go, that's better. So you can see it's got four legs, big tank formation, so that's really nice. The blue dudes, Nordic, they have perhaps my favourite. So this is like, oh, that's insanely cool. So these guys, this is like a six-legged one, but if you look, it's got like a ship, like that is a Nordic ship with like the prow and everything, and then a giant turret on the top. And it's got six legs, kind of like a Viking ship on legs with a giant turret. That is easily my favourite. Nope. Easily my favourite so far. And then the yellow dudes, they've got a really interesting one, because, so this is Crimea. These guys, it looks a bit lower tech, like it's not as advanced. Now, this is based in like World War I times, so early 20th century. So you can imagine kind of the steampunk, diesel punk design in the wake of World War I, or during World War I. I don't know what the exact time frame of the setting is. And then it's the white and red ones which actually look a bit more advanced, sort of like you'd imagine them in like an actual futuristic game. And so they've got the standard, you know, walking two-legged ones. That's pretty damn cool. It's not my favorite because it just looks kind of stock. Like you look up standard stock image of sci-fi mech, and this is what you'll see. You got like the glass kind of cockpit there, and then giant rifle armaments on the sides. It's also probably the one I think you can see on the front. Yeah. So you can see that like this one here, that's what the white one is supposedly. So it goes in there. Yeah. So that's cool. And then lastly we've got the red guys, and the red guy they actually have some really cool ones because it's got like literal scythes, because they're Russian, like Rusovet, Russian Scythe mix. So I really love that. Oh, hang on. Sorry, it's out of focus. And we'll just turn that around. And then they've got some rifle cannons, heavy armory up on the shoulders there. And I think that this is the other one on the side there. Not quite sure, to be perfectly honest. The ones on the side here, those don't fit any of them perfectly. But you can sort of imagine like that kind of look, because they don't have scythes. But those are the mechs there, and I'm just gonna put this aside for the moment so that we can move on to the next game. I don't know, what kind of board games are you guys into? Do you like this sort of grand strategy one? Like, I mean, I have only like kind of recently really gotten into high quality board games, which I'm sure my girlfriend is like regretting ever letting me play board games with her. But they're just so damn good. They're the best way to like ease conversation. To have a like to when you meet someone new, or you're like wanting to figure out something to do, because like if you're ever running out of conversation, you just play the board game, you focus on the game. So much easier. It's and they're always good fun. Alright, so let's just chuck those to the side. And then we are going to move on to Pandemic in the Lab. So, I already have... Hang on. Is it not in here? Damn, I think I left it. I already have the original Pandemic. Plus... So this is the original Pandemic. And then this is one of the expansions. And I already have On the Brink, which is another red expansion. And On the Brink is probably the best expansion I've heard. But basically, Pandemic is a game where you have to cure diseases that are ravaging the world. 4 diseases: red, blue, black, and yellow. And you go around and you're a scientist or an archivist or a dispatcher or a medic or a quarantine specialist or a you know, general, that sort of thing, trying to fix the world before it wipes everyone out. And On the Brink adds in a whole bunch of new game modes that make certain diseases mutate and get more ugly and more violent, and then you've got bioterrorists who get involved, and you know, like, they're amongst you as players, and you don't know, you got to try and stop the bioterrorist amongst you, and it's really good. It's a cooperative board game, which means that you work together as players, like to get in a team against the game. The game is trying to beat you. It's not competitive. You don't work against one another, and that means it's really good for like kind of groups who oftentimes when you know one player is a lot more experienced at it. It's one reason is that cooperative games work is because, you know, the experienced player can still have fun because it's still difficult for them, and they don't have to sort of play it down at the same time. But also, you know, the other players don't get massively beaten and feel just kind of like, because they don't know how the game worked. It's really great. It's fantastically easy to pick up. You'll pick it up in like 2 turns flat. It's one of the simplest games, but it's got an immense amount of thinking and strategy to actually getting it to work. And I love it. We play it really quite often, me and my friends. So On the Brink really changes the game, makes it a lot more interesting. And then In the Lab changes it again. And in the lab, what happens is, well, let's have a read actually. So there are 3 new ways to play. 1, lab challenge. You take samples and you develop cures. So normally you would just find information about the cures as you play, and then you'd cure them. This one complicates that step. You've got to do a lot more to figure out how to cure them. 2, you can do a solo game, though to be perfectly honest, the solo game is, you know, I mean, you don't play board games that often when you're doing a solo. It's okay if you do. I go to the movies by myself occasionally, but it's much more fun as a team. Otherwise, this one does actually introduce competitive elements. In other words, you can have 2 teams of scientists working against one another to develop cures, which is kind of, that horrible reality of pharmaceutical companies, wanting to find cures for things and competing against one another when it's all for the good of humanity. So, let's have a look at what we have inside. So the theme for this game is purple, which is nice. We've got oh my gosh, like a full-on new board. That's actually quite a sizable board. I mean, I don't know how this works yet. I haven't read the rules or anything like that. But I know that you, find samples of the diseases and you put them through here, and eventually you synthesize a cure throughout your turns. And I don't have any idea what this side of the board is focused around. And then, got new cards. Don't know what they're going to be. And new figures, new research stations. Oh, this is cool. Hang on. Gonna just have to... They're like... Those things are really tightly packed in. So, let's just... Done. Okay, so there's one. These are little cubes for the... I don't know. Can you even open them? You can't open them. That's fine. And you got one for each of the diseases. Except there's also a purple disease that you can play with. So you got a purple one as well. All of that. That's really cool. That is cool. And then you've also got a whole bunch of these tokens. I don't know what they do yet, but they look colourful. It's a really visually simple but stark. It's got good stark colours that just it looks good. It looks nice. I really do quite like that. Alright, and lastly, let's have a look at Spirit Island. Now, I don't know if any of you have played Settlers of Catan. It's Settlers of Catan is the quintessential modern board game. You've got the old board games like Scrabble and Monopoly and stuff like that, and those are what everyone has. But the new board gaming scene is probably best encompassed by Settlers of Catan, which is very thematic, less abstract. There are still abstract games coming out. Lots of Euro games that are quite abstract, like Azul. But Settlers of Catan, you are playing as a settler trying to settle the lands. And you build settlements and cities and roads and you get armies and stuff like that. It's not a war game, it's an economy game. You collect resources and you trade with other players and you compete for victory points to have the longest road and the best economy and stuff like that. And it's a fantastic game. We've played it, I don't know how many times. It was the game that got me into board gaming, and it's sold millions. And why I bring that up is that Spirit Island is a game where you are playing as ancient spirits, which, if you have a look around there, the mountain spirit, the fire spirit, the nature spirit, the water spirit, the earth spirit, and the... No, that's water spirit. I don't really know. The river spirit? Hang on. I haven't got a clue. It's another cooperative game where you have to work together to stop the colonists settling your land, which is really cool. And it's kind of a twist on that theme where you've got to try and settle the land. Now you're trying to defend the land from settlers, and I quite like that. Because the whole colonies and building your economy and settling other places, that's become very common in a lot of modern board games. So, the island needs your help. Powerful spirits have existed on this isolated island for time immemorial. They are both part of the natural world and, at the same time, something beyond nature. Native islanders, known as the Dahan, have learned to coexist with the spirits, but with a healthy dose of caution and respect. However, now the island has been discovered by invaders from a far-off land. These would-be colonists are taking over the land and upsetting the natural balance, destroying the presence of spirits as they go. As spirits, you must grow in power and work together to drive the invaders off from your island before it's too late. So, really good selling point. Gorgeous art. Like, just very nice looking game. Then we got rulebook. Ooh, that is quite a hefty rulebook. I have to read all the rules when we play them. So like they always ask me. So these are the islands that fit together, and I'm going to assume let's just ignore that. I'm going to assume that they fit together like this. Yeah. Okay, they fit together. Oh my gosh, there's a back as well. I've never seen that. Oh, I didn't even know that. Apparently there's a back to it, which is cool. Why I say that is because in all the images and reviews I've seen, I've never seen that before. So do they fit together? What? They can only fit together, like the two sides can't aren't interchangeable, which sucks. Oh well. So there we go. There's an island. There's an island. Have a gander at. Have a gander at that. There's our island. Let's call it Timland. And then we've got a whole bunch of tokens which do magical things that I don't know yet. And then a whole lot of settlers. Oh my gosh, wow, they really went all out on the settler models. Like, these are detailed. And then they've got houses. And they've got cities. Then we've got lots of counters for magical reasons. And looks like peanuts. Not actually peanuts. Oh, and then there's a whole lot of stuff underneath. Let's have a look. Ah. So we've got the vital strength of... We've got the vital strength of the earth, and they have their own abilities, and apparently it's quite... Like, the characters aren't really... they're quite different from one another, which is really good. It's really difficult to have a game where characters are very different from one another, but equally useful. See, interestingly, Pandemic doesn't actually suffer from that. There are characters who are clearly better than others, but you get randomly dealt, and there are so many characters that the chance of you getting those particular useful characters every single time is pretty low. You might get one or two of them, but they all do play vital things. But you know, if you've got the quarantine specialist, the medic, the scientist, and the dispatcher, you're pretty good for a game. So this is the thunder speaker. So I would assume a lightning kind of storm focused one. Let's have a see. Child of the lightning. Yep. They're land tore across the land as an avalanche of sound and chaos. Yeah. Then we've got the shadow flicker like flame, and that's got some amazing, beautiful art, like really gorgeous. And then we've got Ocean's Hungry Grasp. So this is representing the oceans, and they each have their own stats down here, which are offensive, control, fear, defense, and utility. And I don't really know what the use of those are yet. I know that you can get something called a fear victory, which is where you terrify everyone into pretty much obeying you. So perhaps having the fear, you know, the ability to terrify someone. So for example, the Shadow Flickers Like Flame has tons of fear. Whether this guy has next to no fear down the bottom, you can see down there, no fear. Be good to do that. But Offense, targeting other people. Control, don't really know. Utility, don't really know. Oh, yeah. River surges and sunlight. So this is the rivers as opposed to the ocean. Yeah, which is really cool. And then we've got... Oh my gosh, there's more of them. That's awesome. So this is Lightning's Swift Strike. So that was Thunder, and this is Lightning. I assume they probably work pretty well together. The people... Where was he? Where was she? There we go. Thunder Speaker and Lightning. So Thunder and Lightning, I hope they work pretty well together. And they both got pretty high offense, control, yeah. Hard to say. Then Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares. So this one has no offense but incredibly high fear. So this guy's probably great at terrifying people. I'd love to play as this one. Yeah. Although, to be honest, when you've got a character who's like really specialised at one thing, they often do the same thing every single game, like because they can't really do much else. And it's really effective because they're good at it, but it's often not that interesting to play as a player. Often it's more interesting to play as the weaker characters so that you have to think about what you're doing more. And then we've got a spread of Rampant Green. So I'm assuming this is just... like, forestry, which is great. I love it. Anyways, that is pretty much what I'm up to. We've got another board. So this is generated fear. So I assume you put in fear tokens, which are those purple things down there. And you can generate fear and try and get people to be terrified of you. That's really interesting. Alright. For some reason there is the Kingdom of Brandenburg, Prussia. Does that make them... Does this mean that the colonists are from Prussia? That's cool. Like connected to Scythe. And then we've got a whole bunch of cards, but I don't know what they do, so, you know, not much point to me showing you for the moment. Cards. And cards. Anyways, what are your favourite board games at the moment? Let me know down below. And I hope you kind of enjoyed this. Just a look at Scythe and Spirit Island and Pandemic. Just a fun little video. Nothing particularly intense. And I really love board games. I'll probably show you Nemesis when I get in the future, because it has some amazing miniatures. Anyways, stay nerdy guys, and I'll see you in the future.